Hello, and welcome to the Mzansi Soccer Show on One World Sports Radio. My name is Mpho and I've got Thabang and Mpho here with me. This week we've got another seemingly jam-packed show. We'll be recapping this week's DSTV Premiership fixtures, as well as talking Nedbank Cup, as that's already started this weekend. We'll go on until next weekend, the weekend. Also going to talk about Amazulu. We're talking about SuperSport United as to whether they are our title favorites and how well Golden Arrows is doing as well. And we might even slip in a little bit of talk on Peter Shalulile, also known as Abuti Taken, who's having a great season at Mamelodi Sundowns. Just before, please do follow us on these channels, the One World Sports Radio channel, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got a cricket test match going on, and we're on all the different platforms happening. South Africa's playing Pakistan in day 2 tomorrow, and so that's going to be happening. So do subscribe to the channel to get more of that. T-Man, how are you doing?
Great, thanks. And yourself, Mpho?
That's good. How was the weekend? How was the derby for you?
The derby. It is the scoreline doesn't tell. The scoreline is not a reflect of the actual performance on the field of play. Kaizer Chiefs really played some enterprising football. We saw them actually coming up and coming to the party, giving Orlando Pirates a run for their money. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't take the chances that were at their disposal. And unfortunately, in a game like this, it's the team that has the big BMT, the team that punishes you in terms of missed opportunities, and that was Orlando Pirates. They really took their chances. They punished Kaizer Chiefs. They didn't have as many opportunities. Kaizer Chiefs had a couple more opportunities than Orlando Pirates, but it was good to see teams punishing and making the most of the opportunity, the few and far between opportunities that they've got.
Yeah, we will look at that penalty that Nurkovic missed, and you just sit there going, but guys, what was Kaizer Chiefs doing? In a game where it's happened throughout the season whenever they've played Pirates, is that they don't take their chances early on. They find themselves on the back foot because they concede. And then on top of that, decisions like allowing Samir Nurkovic to take a penalty. Yes, I think the school of thought is he hasn't scored since he's been back, but you want to allow him to come back and score goals, and maybe the penalty is the easy one. It was just a poorly executed penalty, and it made you question as to why Daniel Cardoso wasn't allowed to take that penalty as the designated penalty taker. It's those things that kind of tell you that this team isn't as buttoned up as you want it to be, especially for a title a team that came second in the league last year, a team that's perennially expected to challenge for the title. You need to be buttoned up. Those things, you cannot be playing around with things like penalty takers. You cannot be missing a multiple of chances in front of goals. Yes, there are some teams that you'll be able to get away with that, but against an Orlando Pirates side that's very good on the counter, they punish them, and to a certain extent, you could even say Pirates deserve to win that match, because soccer's about goals, and if you're not scoring goals, you're not winning games.
100% important. Gavin Hunt did say at the end of the game that he remembers this game was a lot much better than how they played initially in the MTN8 semi-finals. In those games, Kaizer Chiefs did play very well in the first few stages, but as soon as Orlando Pirates scored a goal, it was a different game altogether. In this one, Chiefs were still there. They were still there throughout. There wasn't a huge bridge to gap between them and their counterparts from Soweto. So it was really a good game of football. It's just that unfortunately, Kaizer Chiefs really didn't take the opportunities. Remember that in the first half, Lebogang Manyama had a really good opportunity whereby Samir Nurkovic put it into his path, put it across the goal. A shot was taken by Manyama first time. The goalkeeper was able to save it, and Manyama was given a glorious opportunity and Manyama shot it wide. It's those kinds of things in that Soweto Derby. Those are the kinds of opportunities that you really got to put away, and if you don't, you'll be punished.
And punished they were indeed. T-Man, let's look at the other fixtures on the weekend, and see and just go through them and just let me know. Just let's talk about how they've been.
100% important. I saw Amazulu versus Stellenbosch. Amazulu, really good to see them finally get on track with Benny McCarthy at the helm there. Always good to see experienced players like Rolosogono Majoro. He was really enterprising for them, creating opportunities. Good to see Majoro. I've always said Majoro is one of the best goal poachers I've ever seen in the PSL. He played for Kaizer Chiefs himself. Started at Amazulu before, where he scored a couple of goals, caught the eye of Kaizer Chiefs, and then he really banged in the goals for Kaizer Chiefs. But it's really good to see him playing very well for Amazulu there. I looked at Super Sport.
Yeah, look, I think that Amazulu team is playing really good football. It's good to see. I think in that Stellenbosch game, I think the game before midweek it clicked, and then on Friday they just kept on going, and it's good to see that they are scoring goals. That Swallows and Supersport game, Moroka Swallows does not want to go away. They do not want to go away.
100% Mpho. I was just about to say, Supersport United really did well in that game. They scored the first goal in that game. But one thing that I really liked about Morocco Swallows Mpho is that they interplay, the way they play football. They, as you said, they don't want to go. They don't give up. They were attacking Supersport. Another game where the score, the result that you see is not a reflection of the game. Morocco Swallows was attacked from the first minute of the game, but there was nearly a goal in the first minute where he hit the crossbar. That shows the class of Ronald Williams as a goalkeeper. He's arguably South Africa's number one goalkeeper at the moment. He was a dominant force in goals for Super United. But really good seeing Swallows play. They're really playing some good football, and they were without Hamildeen in this game. So it just shows you that the players are hungry. They're really fighting the boys from the Duba Blades.
And that was Ronald Williams' 100th cap for Supersport. He made his debut 10 years ago, so that was a good one. And congratulations to him. Arrows and Maritzburg United, that was a nice little tasty one. KZN Derby. Golden Arrows showing that they are good enough to stick around in the top four.
100% Mpho. They have lost the game. They were initially unbeaten, but they have lost the game. But Mpho, I recall, I don't know if you remember, you tipped them as relegation favorites. But they're really showing everyone their prowess. Mandlang Negasi doesn't have a lot of star players at his potential, but the boys they're playing well together. They're playing well together, showing that without stars. And it's teams like Golden Arrows which are really surprising us this season. Not a lot of stars at their disposal. You see they're starting 11, and it's a bunch of players who haven't really made their mark in the PSL, but it just shows how teamwork can do wonders for you if you've got that team chemistry right. Unlike teams like TTM have big name players, but if you get your team chemistry right, whereby the coach is really able to maneuver his forces, they're able to motivate his players, it can do wonders in this PSL. But for listening to you, the relegation zone is always full of surprises.
And we're going to
talk. All of a sudden, a team loses this week. Next game, they're winning 3-0, and you see the TS Galaxy beating Black Leopards by 3-0.
And those two games, they're Bloem Celtic and Chakuma, and Black Leopards and TS Galaxy. Those were relegation 6-pointers, as you would call them. And if you look now, Bloem Celtic is in 12th on 14 points. TS Galaxy has 15 points in 10th, and they've left Maritzburg United, TTM, and Black Leopards in 9th position. They are now 4 points away from the nearest competition there. It's looking like it's going to be the three of them fighting for it, which is really disappointing. Bahawk FC and Cape Town City on the Sunday was a good draw. Both teams coming up, mid-table teams showing their prowess. It's Cape Town City. Sometimes you'll get a great win from them, and then they either lose or draw. It's just a topsy-turvy season, but it's good that they didn't lose. And then that Mamelodi Sundowns game against Chippa United, you expected them to come through, and Sundowns knows how to do the business, and they took care of it.
100%. It's unfortunate that it was officially confirmed before that game that Mucheka Madisha DNA test results revealed that he did indeed pass away in December through that car accident. And Mamelodi Sundowns players showing their resoluteness and resilience by being able to, after the news, being able to put in a very, very good result against Chipampo. They were dominant in that game. I was listening to Dan Malisel after the game saying he was very like his charges were very lucky to go away with the 2-0 loss. Good to see Lebogang Mawuwe, as soon as he scored his goal, as they did with Anlen, they brought out that T-shirt in respect and honor of Mucheka Madisha. Good to see Mamelodi Sundowns. They played really, really well in that game. Lebogang Mawuwe scored the first goal, and the second goal was scored by Musa Libusa, the defender. But the man of the match in that game, unfortunately, was not able to find the back of the net. You spoke about him earlier on, Peter Shalulile. He's doing wonders up front there for Mamelodi Sundowns. He's a talisman. He's a striker. But one thing that he's really, really showing us up front, he's not just poaching and putting in the goals on the back of the net, but he's also adding another dimension to Mamelodi Sundowns play, whereby he's creating goals for them up front. I was watching SuperSport, and it was unfortunate that he played so well that it's unfortunate that his name is not on the scoreline. Both goals, he had a hand and touch in both goals, and he's really, really doing well. Peter Shalulile, the Namibian striker.
Yes. Yeah, T-Man, let's actually talk about Peter Shalulile before we go into the midweek games. I really, really think he was a steal, probably signing of the season. I know they signed Kermit Erasmus as well. I know Sundowns went and did a lot of business, and Pirates got Tyson Tlatjwa, they got Wade Yerster, they got the Wits guys as well. But looking at Peter Shalulile's stats this season, and I want to read them out to you. PSL, he scored 6 goals, he's assisted 4. So in total in the DSTV Premiership, he's gotten 10 goals. He's been involved in 10 goals. He averages about 1 goal every just over 2 games in the DSTV Premiership. He scored in the Champions League 1 and 2. He's also scored in the Nedbank Cup, which is what we're going to talk about yesterday. Scored 2 goals, 1 cracker to the top corner. That's something that we never thought we were expecting to see. So far this season, he's got 9 goals and 4 assists. I know everyone's talking Bradley Grobler, and I know in Sundowns everyone's been talking Themba Zwane, Lebo Mabue, and it's hard. It's some guys find it very hard to assimilate to Sundowns from the get-go, especially coming into a team full of stars. What has he done differently? Like, he seemingly just it's like he just dove in, and it's like he's been there for years.
Well, must remember that Peter Shalulile was the joint top goal scorer last season coming from Highlands Park, whereby you're not getting service from players like Lebogang Mabue, Themba Zwane. You're not getting that kind of service. So you must remember that if he's able to do that with limited resources at his disposal, imagine what he can do at a club like Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yes, but T-Man, remember,
which is why you're seeing him now. Also, he's able to adapt into a new role where he's also creating goals for his teammates as well. So I'm just speaking about his talent and his depth as a player, just to show how brilliant he is. I'm taking it back one notch and saying, look how well he did last season.
But T-Man, we've known this with Sundowns because they've always bought players who've performed in the previous season. That's how Sundowns has been.
And that's the beauty of Sundowns, is that when you come to Sundowns, you're able to raise your game to a new level now, because you've got other players at your disposal, who are kind of easing the load of you, and players are creating chances for you. Because remember, for Sundowns, they've really got a good. Although sometimes, unfortunately, some players aren't able to shine at Mamelodi Sundowns, but Sundowns takes players from, like you said, they take players from the clubs where they aren't. You can see that the player's a gem, but he's not really playing to his full potential. But once he gets to Mamelodi Sundowns, that's when he's able to kind of interlink with other players of similar potential, and he's able to kind of raise their game to another level. Let me just take a step back and show you kind of the history. Keegan Dolly, Ajax Cape Town. Kama Billiard, Ajax Cape Town.
Yes,
Rivaldo Coutinho, Ajax Cape Town.
Yes, but T-Man, my point has always been that they don't start in the next season after they've been bought like a house on fire. Peter Shalulile has just gone above and beyond. You can even compare him to Kermit Erasmus. I understand Kermit Erasmus is starting and he's also scoring a few goals, but it doesn't seem like it's as seamless as what Peter has done.
No, but he started like a house on fire. I think another thing is one thing that was also good for him was that Sundowns was in a transition phase whereby there was a change in coaches. So, and unlike in a similar situation, in a situation where Peter was going to start the season, Peter was probably going to start with his tried and tested strikers, and this that gave the mere fact that Sundowns was going through a transition phase. It meant that when Mangoba Mniti and his other two coaches started the season, they could almost tweak a few things, which they did, and they changed their strikers up front. Kermit Erasmus started, Peter Shalulile started. So that kind of eased the pressure for him. He came in from the get-go and was able to kind of step in. He is also an international player. He has experience. He played in the AFCON for Namibia, so he is a very, very adaptable player. And props go to him. We must give him his flowers. He has really started like a house on fire. Watching that game, the specific game against Chico United, he was really, although he wasn't on the score sheet, he came in with 2 assists in that game. And just last week, we were talking about that electrifying scissor kick that he scored last week. And we take it back yesterday, we scored a crack of a goal. So big up to Peter Shalulile. He is,
and what I love about guys like Peter Shalulile is that for me, it's not about being a striker. Is obviously the one part is being a goal poacher and being able to be aware and put chances away, and he's got that. But the other thing is the ability to create space for others. And that's what he's done at Mamelodi Sundowns. He makes the field bigger for them. He is their guy who is at the top of the castle, and he's moving defenses around, dragging center backs out of position, creating space from Shishi, for Kermit, and that's what I love. I love strikers that do that. South African strikers don't run off of the last defender. They don't try and go beyond the last defender, or they don't try and drag defenders out of position. And those are the type of things that make you a great striker, over and above the ability of you being accurate and putting the ball away, which he's got in abundance. And to a certain extent, the man's got wheels. The man is fit. He can run. We saw that at Highlands Park. We're seeing that now at Mamelodi Sundowns. And I'm sure in training for Mangoba Mniti, Rolani Mukwena, and Steve Kompele, he makes it very easy to be picked because the man doesn't look like he's got his off button. He's on gear 5 all day and he runs. And I'm sure he does the same thing with Kloko.
No, 100% important. He is very fit. And one thing that I love about him is that 100% what you've said before is that he's a striker, but he plays like an attacking midfielder. You could think that he's a number 10. He's a number 10. He's a number 8 creative midfielder. He gets into spaces. He's not. He only takes the chance when he knows that he can take this chance.
There's only one other
force an opportunity. He's always on the lookout for his teammates, Maboe, whether it be Maboe, Shishi, Kermit Erasmus, and he's always looking for his fellow players. And he is not he's not a greedy striker. He is a striker who he's playing for the team. He's playing for the Mamelodi Sundowns badge. He's playing for his boys at Kyoto. He is not a striker who's chasing the top goal scorer. He's a striker who's chasing the league title for Mamelodi Sundowns, and that's what makes him a very, very good player.
One question on Shali: is there a striker in South Africa? I know he's the movie, but is there a South African striker that reminds you of him? I've got one person in mind, and there's a game against Stellenbosch that kind of brought this together for me. It's a guy like Zakele Lepasa from Pirates, who, yes, he's no longer. He's seemingly, I think he's injured right now, but he's seemingly now no longer in the starting lineup. He's that type of guy that is that runner, the guy who goes beyond. Yes, he doesn't have the finishing ability as Shalulile, but we even saw it in that what was that Nedbank Cup final that TS Galaxy won, where Lepasa was the guy. He would drag defenders in different places. He would cause problems for the defense by trying to make them play left-handed, and I mean left-handed in the fact that you're dragging people into places they don't want to be. You're causing center backs to think about what they're trying to do because they realize that they're in trouble. And he's the type of pacey player that I think if treated well could be that next step. Is there any other player in the PSL that does that for you?
Current.
Yeah, well, current. Yes, current. You can go back if you want, but I'm like from if we had to tell Malefi take your here's a player that we think you should try and get someone to groom him. Is there that type of player right now in SA?
No, it's difficult to say because a lot of the strikers that we have in South Africa are pure strikers. It's I want to get the ball into the back of the net, and it's not that additional gear that Peter Shalulile offers in terms of being a creative striker, being a striker who's versatile, who moves a lot around the box. It's very, very difficult to put. I can't think at the top of my head in terms of current. It's a very, very difficult one.
No, but that speaks the truth, because I think the last time I think Sundowns had a player like Shalulile, it was necessarily Percy Tau, where Percy would be able to run beyond defenses. He dragged people into places. As that false nine, he would drag defenders. We saw that even in the Premier League against Man City, taking Zinchenko out into places he didn't want to be in. And I thought Lebogang Mabo would be that player for Sundowns, but he's more of a midfield creative type. But last season he tried to do that a little bit more with an advanced role. But
he's definitely got the potential, Mabo. He's definitely that kind of player. Creative, creates a lot of chances up front for Sundowns. So that he's not an out-and-out striker at the moment. Where they're playing him, it's almost like on the right wing, that kind of attacking position. So, Mabue is probably one of the closest that we can get to in terms of that creative role.
Yeah. So let's just move on a little bit to the fixtures. We had two DSTV Premiership matches midweek. We had Amazulu beating Bloem Celtic 4-3 with a stunner in the 93rd minute from Tapelo Toki. Oh my word, team man! Did you see that goal?
No, but I saw it. I saw the game. I saw Benny's reactions. It was a very, very good game of football. Amazulu was at the forefront. They dominated in the early parts of the game. They even went as far as leading 3-1 at one stage. John Maduka was able to put in a couple of substitutions who really put pressure on Amazulu. They ended up scoring in the 88th minute. It was 3-3 Amazulu. It seemed as though the game was done, and it was in the 93rd minute. 5 minutes of optional play given by the referee, and it was a free kick. And Tapelo Toki scored a cracker of a free kick. Benny was absolutely excited. It seems as though Benny was back in his day playing for Bafana Bafana.
But it's wild because 93rd minute, you've got your big tall defenders up there getting ready to try header the ball in. You taking a shot like that is very risky, very brave. I kind of felt like the environment in Amazulu has changed, where players have the ability to be able to do things like that, where you can take a long-range free kick from not even position A1. This was like 10, 15 meters away from the box. And it's a low chance probability of it going in, and it had to be perfect, and he made it perfect, which is something that I'm happy with, and I'm starting to see that there's a little bit of freedom that Amazulu is playing with, which we'll talk about. The other game that we'll just have to shine on, Pirates losing 2-0 to Golden Arrows. I think this is the pattern of Pirates this season. You win one, you lose one. They just will go up and down. Is Orlando Pirates living for big games, or is Golden Arrows just that good a team?
That's a tough one to answer. 100% Orlando Pirates. I mean, it seems like their focus was on the derby, and then it was a bit of derby hangover, and the boys from KZN really showed it. They were at 6s and 7s. It seemed as though their focus was beating Kaizer Chiefs. After that, let's relax and let's. The
season's over. They'll win this season without a trophy. And they have a trophy, but
and I think in terms of if you want to challenge for league honors, you've got to come to the big games, and that's what Sundowns is doing. That's what SuperSport United are doing. They're putting away the small teams. They're winning on the trot. They're winning consecutive games. This Orlando Pirates team, I don't know. I also made a wrong selection at the beginning of the season, but you can't blame me. We looked at their signings, we looked at who they bought, but it seems as though those players aren't gelling well together. It's a bit of they really aren't finding the right combinations. I mean, what happened to their starting lineup? The team that won the derby, where was that team now? Where was what happened there? And those are the kinds of questions that we asked ourselves before. Is that what about the continuity? Why change a winning formula?
Look, I think the other question obviously would be you need to rotate players. You played on Saturday, now you're playing on Tuesday, and you're playing Tuesday afternoon. It's not like you're playing in the evening. Obviously, I think now games will be pushed to the evening because now lockdown regulations have now been extended and the curfew is now 11 p.m. But there is need to do the rotation. But you do the rotation against teams who are in the bottom half of the log, teams who haven't won, who haven't doing well. You needed to respect golden arrows. You needed to give them an 11 that probably played on Saturday, or bulk of them played. But the other thing is obviously you have a big squad, and this is the thing that Pirates is now starting to figure out. I think early on in the decade, in the early 2010s, they had a big squad. Pirates have always been known to have a big squad, but it took a lot of some coaches just know how to manage squads. Peter knew how to manage his 45 players who are the best 45 players in the PSL, and they somehow found a game for them. Somehow some of them didn't, but they ended up just sitting in the stands looking pretty in Sundowns kit. But it takes a very astute mind to manage, and Pirates with their defensive frailties will always be looking for something, and that's what happens when you aren't picking up clean sheets or when you aren't winning games convincingly and you're letting in easy goals, is that you'll always try look to tinker at the back to find a right combination. And yeah, it's very tough, especially with the names they have and the salaries that they're paying. It's really bad. But T-Man, Amazulu, 5 games unbeaten. I think they haven't lost a game. I think, yeah, they haven't lost a game in 5. I don't know if that's coinciding with when Benny came in. But the last of the 15 points that they have were available. They've got an 11. They are now pushing up onto the log. They are now in 7th. They are sandwiched between Chiefs and Cape Town City on 21 points. They made a big call taking and letting go of their coach. And now obviously they're reaping the benefits of a much more experienced coach in Benny McCarthy, who seemingly is showing his expertise and his prowess at this team. We thought they'd start off slowly. There were a couple of draws there, here and there. At the beginning, you kind of felt that, from a defensive perspective, they weren't getting it right. But now, all of a sudden, it's ticking, and it's ticking well, and they're winning games.
Yeah, Mpho. One thing that I really like about Amazulu is, as you said, Benny's almost taken the shackles off. The players are playing some good attacking football. They're really not sitting back. They're taking the game to their opponent. One thing that I've really enjoyed about that is they don't sit back and like we said, is that in the PSL you get a couple of good results, three good results, and you shoot, and you can actually move up 5 positions, and that's what Benny's done. I think Benny's also brought in some confidence into the players. The guys are really playing some really good attacking football. I see the number 10, Sundowns Mpho. He really got into good positions against Bloem Celtic. He's really I was surprised to see from looking at him and seeing the way that he was playing. I would expect a player like him to have scored a couple of goals this season. Really 2 good chances in the first half. Couldn't get them, but got the third one and put it in the back of the net. And I think that what helps is also having the experienced coaches like Benny. I mean, you don't get more experience than having coaches such as Benny McCarthy and Thabang and Mpho. Now, those are top strikers in terms of PSL football. I think I stand to be corrected. Thabang and Mpho is the top all-time goal scorer in the PSL, followed closely by Mabuti Kanyeza. And then Benny, and you've got Benny McCarthy, the all-time highest national goal scorer for Bafana Bafana.
Yes, so with 39 goals.
You've really got some good coaches at your disposal in terms of striking, getting into the right positions. And you've also got, for the youngsters, they've also got Majoro, Majoro, one of the best, in my view, one of the best goal poachers that we've seen in the PSL over the past 5 years, 5 to 7 years. So but the players have really got that from an attacking point of view. They've really got some good. They've got a good foundation in terms of the coaches who are coaching them, and within their fellow players, they've also got some good players who can actually push and help their players. And not to mention,
Yes.
in their squad, they've got Tepo Masilela. But we have to
Former Bafana international. He's played around the world.
Played for Maccabi Haifa. Played for Getafe in Spain. You've got Peter Shalulile. He hasn't played again. Hasn't played again, but he's there. And then from a goalkeeping and defensive perspective, we've got Monip Joseph. So in terms of technical team, these guys they're really. And in terms of management, they've got someone, Sandile Zungu, esteemed businessman. He comes from Alma Mater, there in Cape Town at UCT. Modern football manager coming in with new ideas. And they took a risk early on in the season. I understand. I mean, he was not doing badly as a coach. He was. I stand to be corrected. He was not doing badly.
He wasn't. And he was also the MDC coach. He came up. It's great to promote internally.
He knows Amazulu in and out. He's a former. He knows Amazulu in and out. He also played for Amazulu. He's come up with the team. He knows the team very well. So they did take a bit of a risk, but it's paying dividends. As an investor like Sandile Zungu, he's invested in a coach like Benny McCarthy, an international. In terms of discipline in South African football, you don't get better than Thabang and Mpho. You don't get better than Monip Joseph. Those are role models for our soccer players in South African football. Monip Joseph, there was a video that came out on social media last season where he was nearly in tears fighting, telling his players to wake up and fight because these are good opportunities that these guys have got. I don't know if you saw that video last season where Monip Joseph was inspiring the players.
Yeah,
I think the guys have got a really good foundation at Amazulu, and if they can build on it, it can pay dividends for the team. But I want to speak of this, and I know you actually gonna.
Let me guess. It's Pagamani Mahlambi again, and he's not going to start.
They've got a diamond at their disposal that hasn't come out. But we haven't seen it.
T-Man, like who's that other guy who played for what is it? What's that team in the Northwest that now is yes.
What a player.
The thing is, we know, and the problem is that there's sometimes you can take the horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink.
100%.
And you have to believe that a talent like Pagamani Mahlambi, with all the resources in the world, with you've named all the seniors and the technical staff, you've named Amazulu is there. You've even got Sandile Zungu, who could probably even get him a financial advisor, get his head right. If he's not starting, T-Man, if he's not starting, it says that he's doing something wrong in training. And to a certain extent, there's nothing. It's sad because he's the type of guy that elevates South African football. He's the type of guy, as a coach, I want to dole out and an AFCON against the Senegal to be like, go at them. Because you've got the talent, but you need the discipline. And if the discipline's not there, you can't go far. He's probably one of the most talented youngsters we have in the country. He's even more talented than the guys, the under-23s that we have. But if he doesn't want to come to the party... You could
argue that he's even more talented than Percy Down. You could even argue that.
I was about to say that. I wouldn't want to say that. But Percy's a lot of hard work. Percy... Here's the thing. Pagamani never played in the Glad Africa Championship. He was always Wits. He went to Al Ahly. He came back down. He's never gone to the Glad Africa Championship. Percy has. Percy's gone on loan. He's gone on loan to the most different parts of the world, which is the mentality. Sometimes you make it in this sport just because of hard work, and that's the great thing about a guy like Percy Tau. But Pagamani needs to marry hard work with talent. He needs to marry.
As Rulani Mukwena says, talent alone is not enough. There has to be
it isn't, and that's the reason why they let him go. You got to ask yourself why Sundowns let him go. And it's not environment anymore. We're all in South Africa now. He's the South African, and I think you can't get a better situation than Mamelodi Sundowns. You're getting paid the best. You're getting everything of the best. It's cream of the crop. Whereas other guys in other clubs, it's just rough.
It's tough, bro. You could be at a TTM, bro, where you're not sure, bro.
That's what we're going to talk about now, T-Man.
But I just to say one more thing, bro, about Amazulu, bro. He couldn't also be in a better environment for him, bro. Think the resources at his disposal. What you spoke about right now, bro. Amazulu have really Sunny Lezungu, but they've got the Kings Park Stadium as their home ground, bro. They're making it into a home ground. And there's professionalism at Amazulu. You're seeing professionalism. They've got Spar as a sport. The team is really, really doing well. And I mean, props to teams like that. Teams that aren't your Kaiser Chiefs, that aren't your Super Sport United, they aren't your Mamelodi Sundowns. But you can see that there's professionalism that's coming into the team. They're starting to build up slowly but surely.
The one team for me that I feel bad that needs a sponsor. Be it a kid sponsor or just a general sponsor. Get Golden Arrows, guys. They're playing such great football, and I want nobody. I'm like, guys, come on. Surely there's a business there in Durban that wants to parade itself, because it's going to be quite sad when we go into the back end of the season and Arrows is beating everybody and taking names. And
it's scary to think the PSL team doesn't have a kid sponsor. It's scary to think this too.
Look, to a certain extent, I want to believe that it's more of a local sponsor type of vibe where the community does the kits and stuff like that, which is something I thought that Golden Arrows was going for. Because if TTM can, but obviously we know what happened. But if TTM can pay for those kits, yeah. But I think it's also another way to save cash if no one's going to pay to say, hey, I want you to wear my brand next season. T-Man, let's go into the fixtures for the Nedbank Cup. We've already had some games being played. I've put up some selected fixtures. So obviously this round of Nedbank Cup is going to only start on the round of 32 because of COVID protocols. So it's only the 16 teams in the PSL and the 16 teams in the Glad Africa Championship that are competing, which is sad, but it's the nature of what we're finding ourselves in. And obviously, yes.
Just check that Sundowns result with Stellenbosch. I think from what I recall, they went to 2-1.
Yes, it was 2-1. Sorry, I do apologize.
No worries.
It was a 2-1 actually. I just need to change it a little bit. So
no worries. But as you said, Peter Shalulile once again showing his prowess in that game, and really did well in Paul. But I guess our fixture of the round so far.
It's already the joy of the Nedbank Cup. Already.
TTM beating Supersport United. Supersport United are out.
What was that from Supersport? We were going to talk about how they title contenders. They've got credentials. They're doing so well in the league. I think they were taking a break. Obviously, you could see that they started with Mahachi and the different guys there. But guys. But here's the other thing with TTM, and you've spoken about this TTM, the whole season was that guys at TTM are out for revenge. Thabang and Mpho today arrived and was like, you don't want me? Here you go, out of the Nedbank Cup.
But did you see that Tukularanti was on the bench for TTM?
And he went on. He played.
Wow.
He came onto the field. First time since 2017, October 2017. Remember that. The man hasn't played football in 3.5 years.
Wow. Tukularanti, what a great striker. I recall that surprise game with Nigeria, where Stuart Baxter and Tukularanti bagged the brace against Nigeria. We were really fighting for a spot in Africa. Just one thing on the Nedbank Cup, it's so unfortunate. So unfortunate that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the teams in the lower structures, which is ABC Motsepe, unfortunately, because of the way things are, they won't get a chance to play in this year's tournament. And it's so unfortunate because this is the tournament where you find Andile Jali came from University of Pretoria, who were playing in the lower structures at that time. Thokozisi Yende came from this tournament. Bongani Zungu came from this tournament. Percy Dow's played in this tournament, coming from the lower structures. And it's so unfortunate that remember Baroka FC beat Kaiser Chiefs a couple of seasons ago. The same Baroka that's giving Kaizer Chiefs
Yes.
sleepless nights.
Wasn't that in
PS1
2011? Wasn't that like in 2011 or something when Baroka beat Kaizer Chiefs? It was years ago.
It was years
Yeah,
ago, but it was when Baroka was not. It
still
was
still
also
in
in
still
yeah,
in
still in the
in the
lower
Glad,
stretches.
or we call it the Glad Africa, the championship now. T-Man, looking at these fixtures, I just put the fixtures with the PSL teams involved. Maritzburg playing Sekhukhune United. Sekhukhune United is also a new team that started this year. Was bought out of another team, and they are going through some turmoil, but yeah, it's not going to be good. I think this could be good for Maritzburg to get their season back up and running and get a quick win. Orlando Pirates versus Utongati, Golden Arrows and Amazulu. That is a humdinger. Both teams could do with a cup run. And it's just obviously it's going to be a nice little bout for them to come through. And Cape Town City playing Bloem Celtic. Bloem Celtic, we've always known, T-Man, they're cup specialists. They can be a banana peel for everyone.
100%. We saw what they did in the Nedbank Cup last season, where they lost narrowly to Mamelodi Sundowns. We saw what they did in the MTN8, where they scored the first goal of the game against Orlando Pirates. So Bloem Celtic, they've really of late they've really had some really good cup runs. But look, I'm looking at a fixture like Orlando Pirates versus Utongati. Players are hungry. Players are really hungry. We speak of this tournament being a tournament where it gives youngsters an opportunity to kind of elevate yourself from where you're playing. Gems are found in this tournament over here. This is the tournament. This is the FA Cup of South Africa. So Utongati players are relishing this fixture. They are training this week. They're training hard. This is a golden opportunity for them.
And that bus ride all the way to Orlando Stadium, it's gonna be fascinating.
Players you've been complaining about knocks are now fine. They're up and running. They're ready. They want 90 minutes. When the coach wants to substitute you, you get angry. This is that kind of game. And I'm really watching that fixture.
Yeah.
I'll be watching that game just to see the talent of football that's coming through South African football. But hopefully, I hope and I pray that with this tournament this year, unfortunately, my hope is that I want the players from the ABC Motsepe League to come up. Not the players from I want the players from the Glad Africa, but I also want an opportunity for those players in the ABC Motsepe League to also come up and get an opportunity. Because that's where the talent in South Africa is there.
And that's the only disappointing thing about this. But on Sunday, T-Man, you've got 5 fixtures. Chippa versus Free State Stars, remember them. Jomo Cosmos, remember them, versus Black Leopards. I think it's in my neck of the woods. Maybe I should try and see if I can't find a nice vantage point at Huntersfield to see Black Leopards play Jomo Cosmos. Morocco Swallows versus Cape Umoya FC. Kaizer Chiefs versus Richards Bay. Baroka FC versus Cape Town Spurs. I love these fixtures because it's PSL versus Glad Africa Championship. So it's David versus Goliath, which is the nature of this tournament. And there's banana peels everywhere. Jomo Cosmos versus Black Leopards. This has promotion playoffs all written all over it right now. Jomo Cosmos is doing well in Glad Africa. Black Leopards is not having the best of seasons. They're hanging around the bottom there. And there was I think 2 years ago there was a promotion playoff game between Jomo Cosmos and Black Leopards where Cosmos had gone out to a lead early on and Black Leopards, with the whole Toyando situation, just taking teams down. So I'm sure Jomo will want to do something there. Swallows, Cape Umoya, Swallows going back to Cape Town, hosting Cape Umoya FC, who they played with last year in Glad Africa. Kaizer Chiefs versus Richards Bay. It's Kaizer Chiefs in this tournament are not the best of friends, so I wouldn't be surprised if something horrible happens in this really awkward season that Kaizer Chiefs is happening. And then Baroka and Cape Town Spurs. What are you looking at here? Do you see any banana peels here for the bigger teams?
No, I agree with you, Paul. I'm looking at that Richards Bay versus Kaizer Chiefs game. Kaizer Chiefs are really under pressure. So in these kinds of games, if you go to halftime and the score's 0-0, that's when the mistakes start happening, and the PSL team starts getting nervous, and the team that's coming in the Glad Africa starts getting more confident. And that's what you love about these kinds of fixtures, and that's what I want to see this weekend. Kaiser Chiefs versus Richards Bay. We really, as I said earlier on, these kinds of it's opportunities for us to. We need to cast our net out wide as Bafana in terms of Muli. But I hope Muli can take any scouts are working this weekend, because these are the Glad Africa players raise the bar. One thing that I've always noticed about whenever Glad Africa PSL, it's zonal marking. You've got a lot of space, and you can almost play and play your piano and shoe shine football and almost kind of long balls. And these boys from the Glad Africa, it's end to end stuff. It's man marking, and these boys they're gonna make you run. And the boys are really fit, and as you said, they're really motivated, they're inspired. And this is the COVID-19 pandemic. Unfortunately, it hasn't been a good thing for the world, South Africa, and our football in particular, as we saw it into the show. But it gives players a little bit of a glimmer of hope for these kind of games coming up, because as a player you kind of see that this is an opportunity for myself to elevate myself, to elevate my team, to get a good cup run, and to get as we speak about sponsorships, we speak about teams wanting to kind of elevate themselves and show their prowess to marketers, advertisers, and this is the kind of tournament, and these are the kinds of games that I relish in terms of. So this weekend I'll be watching. I'll try to cost my wife. I'll try catch a couple of games and to see the future of South African football.
And next week we'll be discussing it. Let's do that. Let's actually do that. Next week we'll discuss some of the players in the Glad Africa Championship that stepped up this weekend in the
we need to remember that as South Africa, we've got an Olympic Games coming up, and we need to be working day in, day out, to kind of prepare for that. And I don't see that in our football administrators, unfortunately. And this kind of weekend coming up, it's an excellent weekend for the likes of Mulifi Nteki. Essentially, is it David Notwane?
David Notwane, who's going to be the coach of the under-23s at the Olympic Games.
But these are the weekends where the guys need to have the TVs on, where you've got a laptop on.
TV, phone, laptop, very different games.
You're watching you eyeing our talent, and our players are hungry. The talent is there. We know, we've spoken about it. And these are the kinds of weekends. And I agree with you. Next weekend, if we can, myself and yourself, let's have a look. Let's see if we can find an Andile Jali. Let's see if we can find a Kosi Tao. Let's see if we can find a Masibusane Zongo. The list is endless, but let's try and find the gems of our football.
No, that's true, Tim, and I think that I'll take on that challenge as well. I think it's important for everyone to try and look at the lower leagues across all sports, but most importantly, I think in our football. T-Man, obviously, the point here is, especially for a lower team, it's getting as much TV time as possible. This is free TV time that you can sell to somebody to be like, hey, I'm in the Nedbank Cup quarterfinals. How about you put your company's logo here for the country to see? It's things like that, and that's the joy of what this is. I watched obviously in the FA Cup when Marine played Tottenham, and everybody was pitching in to get Marine kits, to get Marine stadium ready, to get them all amped up and ready.
What a game! That Marine versus Tottenham game.
Yeah, they got smacked to high heaven, but it was about showcasing what these guys could do. And that's what the Nedbank Cup is about, and that's why I think it's really important for especially the teams in the Glad Africa Championship who don't get as much game time as possible, but against the Chiefs, against the Pirates, against the big teams that will be televised, that you make sure that you put your best foot forward and aim for the stars. These teams are not fallible. They can be beat. They can be.
Not at all.
And so I really, really do hope that the teams and everyone going into the Nedbank Cup, and I think that's what we're going to end it up today, T-Man. But I really do hope that all the teams in the Nedbank Cup have a great weekend. T-Man, you have a great weekend as yourself. We've got lots of soccer to watch, but we'll do it anyway because we love it. But from myself and T-Man, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. All we can say is, till next time. Let's